What is going on, everybody? Happy Friday. This is an incredibly fun NBA slate. We just did a DraftKings video. I've got my live QL TV show later today at 4 Eastern time, but we're going to talk over some FanDuel lineup builds because it is a different game today to me on FanDuel than it is on DraftKings. Sheets, I'm guessing you're going to second that.
Yeah, I second that. There's a glut of value on DraftKings that doesn't, I don't want to say doesn't exist, but it's not as, at the top of the forefront as it is on DraftKings. It's not so much on FanDuel, let's put it that way. And we'll get to it as we get to the positions, but it's I have to say also that on DraftKings, towards the end of the slate review, I was a little less impressed with the value as I thought I was going to be. So maybe we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
What's tricky about this, just looking at it from an overall for me on FanDuel, is that there are so many plays that are underpriced. It makes it tricky, but they're not the values, and they're in positions where you want to spend up for the other good plays. So it's a really interesting build. Probably a good multi-entry slate, more even if you're not a big multi-entry person. Yeah. I think that's a really good way to go tonight. Because we're going to get into it with point guard right now. I could make an argument there is no reason to spend for anybody. And I could also make an argument paying all the way up is the way to go. So yeah, what do you think about the point guard spot?
So for me,
on your screen here covering up the people.
Yeah, I know. I'm just trying to find a good place to put this. I'll just keep it off to the side for a minute then. Put it right there. How like that?
Yeah.
So first thing, I guess we got to start talking about it. So with Brogdon out, the point guard position for Indiana becomes very value oriented. And I'm not exactly sure why this is, but I mean, one of the places I'm looking has TJ McConnell being the preferred play and the most popular play. I actually don't see it that way. I think that's going to change. I think that Aaron Holiday, I guess it presumably starts. I guess whichever one starts is going to be good. But if Aaron Holiday is going to start and he's 3,700, for me, that's honestly the first guy I'm putting in. I mean, he's always underpriced on FanDuel, and he'd be the guy I would like to put in. Now, again, it would be a perfect world if Oladipo is out also. But I think even if Oladipo plays, I think that Holiday, if he starts, is a really, really good play at 3,700. And like you said, you don't have to be tied down to any one price point. So I like Aaron Holiday. Or if you want to go all the way up, I could certainly make a case for Luka. I mean, Luka's really, really good play, and as he always is, and he for me is actually the best, even point per dollar, not necessarily point per dollar, but factoring in price also and raw points, probably the best play. I actually like Luka better than Trey on FanDuel for some reason. So I do like Luka a little bit better than Trey. And then if you want, you could talk about a guy that you already brought up, which is it's not a guy I play too often, but he's another cheap guy. Is Markelle Fultz at 5K? With all these Orlando with Fournier out, it increases his usage, and as a result, he's projecting really well. But the other guy, again, I would be remiss not to point out that I'll leave the rest to you is Damian Lillard. He's only 9K, and like you mentioned in the DraftKings video, there's no limits restriction on him, and he's going to be, I presume, lower owned than a lot of these guys, and certainly going to include him in my player pool, and I might actually consider making him a priority depending on my mood. So that's my initial take on point guard.
Yeah, complete agreement here. My favorites in order they're tied. I have Luka and Dame as my favorite too, with Trey just behind them, basically all even. And because of the ownership is factored in a little bit in my decision making. I just think getting Lillard, or either way you want to play it. If you I actually like Luka too. So I'm sorry, Kristaps. So I could play a Lillard, Young, Kristaps. I don't think you can't play Luka and Kristaps, but there are so many good plays at the point guard spot because I'm going to go through a bunch of other ones that I really like. One of McConnell or Holiday, I agree. The starter probably gets the edge, but I do think Holiday has upside either way. I think the McConnell ownership is going to be higher than I'm going to want to be on it, even though it actually scares me more to fade on DraftKings than it does on FanDuel. I think Markelle Fultz is a terrific play. I really like him. I really like Ricky Rubio. That's one who I think people will get on, but it's just a very strong play. Same with Spencer Dinwiddie. And then, we have to mention the obvious thing. If Trae Young is out with this illness, I think that we have to just play Jeff Teague over prioritize him potentially over or alongside of one of the Indiana guards.
I agree with that.
I just think they're going to let him have minutes this time. I don't know. That's just where I'm at. Anyway, it's a lot. There's a lot of good plays. I mean, I didn't even get to Kobe White and John Morant, who, if you're playing a bunch of lineups, you'd want to get some exposure to. I don't have any interest in Michael Carter-Williams or some of these other guys who project well, but I certainly understand it. But I'm just not. There's just too many good plays for me to think about those guys. The only other one who I could see really crushing at some in certain aspects would be Shabazz, but probably not going to get there because there's just too many other plays. Oh my God, I even forgot one. Like Satoransky is like free over here, and on another slate he would be projecting as like the cash game play here. So it does make you, the more you see these options at these reasonable prices, it does make it, to me, much less appealing to go for guys like McConnell, even though, of course, I obviously get it,
What price is Satoransky here?
Sato is 51.
Okay.
So
yeah, I have to say, if how can Trae Young miss this game? I mean, it's missing a game against it's pre-matchup.
I mean, he might be. What if he's got coronavirus? Who knows? We don't know.
But if he's out, it's Teague is just Teague's going to be better than Holiday. Let's put it that way.
Yep.
If right.
Safer. Yeah.
All right. So all right. I guess we can just move on. I suppose. Yeah. So shooting guard. My favorite play. Again, lineup construction is going to get in the way of some of my favorite plays, but my favorite play is Bradley Beal. He's in presuming Trae Young plays, it's going to be a close spread. And even if Trae Young doesn't play, how much can Washington ever be favored by anybody anyway? In any case, he's in a great matchup. I think that 10-1 might. I was about to say might keep some people off him, but I doubt it. I'm sure people will play him, but I definitely do like Beal as my top play. Where I could get a little, I don't want to say sneaky, but a little different than everybody else is maybe my second one, because I do think that he's going to get ownership deal. But all these other guys I have like kind of equal, like these shooting guards I kind of listed here. Like, I mean, Booker's good, Russell's good, LeVert's good. I said Butler's good too, and all these guys are fine. But I don't think that they stand out in any way over some other guys. Like, I mean, I don't know how these ownerships are going to work out, but I mean, if I can get DeRozan at 10%, I'm going to try that. Now, again, he's certainly not as good of a not quite as good of a price as he is on DraftKings, but still think that he's at 10%. I might take a shot with him. And the other kind of like two other guys I want to bring up. One is Marcus Smart, for reasons that you kind of brought up in the DraftKings video. I mean, nothing's really changed with respect to the usage bump that he's going to get. And he didn't do that well in the last game, so maybe we'll get some people off of him. And he might be only 10, 15%. And the last guy I'll just throw in there is, again, he's a guy I brought up at the last minute in our DraftKings video. And, again, just as a really low-owned guy that just no one's going to play, if you can get Chris Middleton at 6'6", at 5% or under, I might take a shot at that. But all these guys I kind of just put up here, like Butler, LeVert, Ross. Well, Terrence Ross, I don't know why he's so low-owned here. I don't know what that is. But that can't be the case. Well, if Terrence Ross is going to be 5%.
There's a lot of good plays at shooting guard. I think there's more than you think.
Oh, okay. But all these guys I do like. But, again, the lower-owned guys of these, maybe Chris Middleton, DeRozan if he's 10%. And, but Beal would be my favorite.
Yeah, there's so many interesting plays here, right? Okay, so my favorite, I have Beal in my next tier of favorites. Sort of at the top, but I like Booker and Beasley.
Okay.
I like Rubio a lot, but again, I think as much as I like shooting guard, I like point guard a little better. I really like Kevin Huerter, even if Trae plays at 5K. Perfect ceiling type matchup, as I mentioned before. LeVert, obviously, but he'll be popular, but that's okay. DeRozan, I think you could run those two together. Oladipo, Marcus Smart. These guys are all on my list. Jimmy Butler. But the preferred guys I have right now are Beasley, Beal, Booker, Herter, and LeVert. Those are my highest owned.
You know what you could do, like you were just kind of alluding to. I mean, if you're between like a bunch of guys like that, you could you could be a little more exact with your correlation, right? Like,
Exactly.
like you said, you could run DeRozan with LeVert and stuff like that. So
Exactly.
And there's enough guys that you like that you could probably find somebody from the other team to run him back with.
Yeah. All right, let's go to small forward.
Yeah, I guess that's it. So at small forward, again, it'd be nice to get in all the guys that I like, but can't get in. It's so funny, you can't get in everybody. So I actually do like in the traditional small forward dumpster fire. I don't get some of this ownership. Jay Crowder's fine. A 4,300 is a really good value, and I see Juancho's getting ownership also. But like some of these guys, but for me, I'm going to just start with Giannis. I just think that you have to play two of these guys, and I just think he's a much better play than LeBron. So I would gonna start with Giannis as my top spend, and certainly my best play at small forward. Aside from that, the second small forward is always kind of tricky, But for me, I don't think any of those guys I mentioned are that big of a lock that I need to pay high ownership for them. So the guys I kind of want to just throw out there are, again, guys that I don't play too often, but they've always seemed to have gotten there for me is I would try Carmelo here at 5,300 at lower ownership than some of these other guys, especially if you're going to play some of these Phoenix dudes. So I don't know if I would want to play Anthony in the same lineup with Lillard, but I think Carmelo Anthony is a good way to pivot over here. And I actually kind of liked Cam Reddish. And it's one of those things that if Trey doesn't play, he might end up being too popular. So maybe I'd get off him a little bit, but maybe he would get that so much of a bump that maybe it won't matter. So Cam Reddish is definitely on my radar of guys to look for. So there's him, and there's Michael Bridges also from that same game. But for me, Giannis would be my favorite. As I'm saying that, I'm just trying to wonder if I don't want to just go play LeBron at like half the ownership. But for me right now, I think Giannis is my favorite.
Why can't you play both of them? That's my question. I think you can.
Oof.
So
wow.
So I don't like the position over here. I think there's a lot of speculative plays, and some guys are going to hit. I don't feel strongly about a lot of them. I do feel like I like Crowder. I don't like him at having ownership. I think he's a great tournament play for not when he doesn't have ownership here, but I don't know that you want a lot. Like we said, he's a streak player. I think that you could just run it Giannis and LeBron, and LeBron's too cheap over here, as is Giannis, by the way. And while this is going to be Lakers have slowed the ball down, all that stuff, who do you think is going to have the ball in a close game? And we don't, in this kind of a matchup, this is an important competitive game. So I personally, I like doing that, and I will have a lot of Crowder, don't get me wrong. I also am going to throw James Ennis and Cam Reddish into the mix. James Ennis could end up seeing a little bit more of an increased role with no Fournier. I think he will actually. His minutes have been secure, but the usage is pretty low. It's not like my favorite play in the world, but if you want to do something different and pay down there, I actually think people will be on that a little bit because he makes some sense. But I think we have to wait on Trae Young, obviously, to think about Reddish and all that. But I still like Reddish even if Trae Young does play, at least a little bit. And then you've got the Arizas, Bogdanovich, reasonable price. Hunter, it's just I'm not loving this position. That's where I'm at. So I mostly want to play those guys. And then Juancho's another one I'll play at 4,900. I think it's a little too cheap for him.
I don't know if I could play both Giannis and LeBron.
Why?
I want to play one of these other guys. Want to play Beal. Actually, I don't have to play Beal. I'll tell you who else I really want to play. I want to play power forward. I really want to play Jason Tatum. And I don't quite get the ownership issue here. I was expecting him to be the highest owned guy, but as of now, he's just not.
Well, the increase in Kemba's minutes, they said, is going to happen tonight, but I think that might hurt perception more than what his actual reality is. And he's playing Utah. People aren't going to play him. They just don't do it.
Yeah. So for me, again, first, I guess looking at the ownership first, I guess the top own guys are going to be, it looks like Sabonis and Zion and maybe Aaron Gordon. I'm not really getting to those guys if you want to know the truth. Like my favorite three guys are three different guys, and especially when you factor in ownership, I do like Tatum the best, and then the other two guys are, again, I'd love to get all these. I can't, but I actually like Anthony Davis, and I like Bam at 10%. So for me, I like those three guys better than any of the top 4 or 5 owned guys, if you want to know the truth. So Tatum would be my favorite. And then, boy, I'd love to be able to get AD or Bam, and it's just going to be kind of difficult. Maybe I will end up having to eat some Naz Reid or Dario Saric or, oh, boy. What about Rui at freaking 5K? Oh, goodness. Maybe that's what I'll do.
That's a good one. Well, actually, he's 53, isn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, I said 5K. I'm just saying.
Yeah. He's interesting. He's definitely a good one. It's an interesting position. It's
I mean, you like this Aaron Gordon?
What's that?
You like Aaron Gordon as chalk?
Yes.
You do? Okay.
I like him at this. I like the way that they're playing. I think it suits him. It's a great matchup. He's been playing great in much tougher matchups. He did have a down game the last couple times out, but I don't like. Look, I don't like. It's not that I love him. He's my third highest owned right now. My highest owned will be Kristaps, and there's a big differentiator right there. I'm gonna have Kristaps and Sabonis a ton.
Wow.
Maybe not together, but certainly trying to get them together. And then, I'm fine with Zion, and I like Tatum. I like Tatum and Gordon, but Naz Reid, sure, if I need to spend down a little bit, but I think I would rather play. It's actually close, but I think I'd rather play Rui. Well, yeah, I think I would rather play Rui. I mean, Naz Reid's numbers have been phenomenal, but the minutes feel better with Rui. But they're both definitely in play, and I agree with Bam and Davis being interesting tournament options. I just don't know if I'm going to end up getting to them much.
That makes sense. I don't know if I'm going to get to any of these guys. I mean, I just like them.
Yeah.
Great.
Center is going to be an interesting one.
So center, I'm not too into this. Again, we'll talk about this, but look, Vooch is the best play. I'll just start with that. Vooch at 8,400 is definitely the best play, and if you can get him in your lineups and be different elsewhere and all that stuff, I think it's fine. I like it. But if you're going to be chalky elsewhere, if you want to pivot, I certainly don't think he's a lock, and so I will just throw a couple of guys out there that I'm interested in. Guy that I know you don't like, but if he's going to be low owned, I'll try Whiteside. The other guy that I'll be into is Miles Turner at paying down a little bit at 6,000. Those are my two favorite. And then I have three kind of like ancillary guys, like Steven Adams, who I really just don't like playing. But he often fits 6K builds. And but then again, if I'm going to have Miles Turner, I think Miles Turner is a better play than Steven Adams, I guess. And then there's J Val, who's always in my mix, and I'll let you talk about whether we can play Wendell Carter Jr. But I do think that Vooch is definitely the best play, gun to my head, points per dollar or whatever, him. But you remember, when you're building GPP lineups, you just have to make sure you get a good mix of correlation, high-owned, low-owned guys or whatever, and I just don't know how much Vooch I'm going to end up with.
Yeah, center kind of sucks outside of two guys for me. Wendell Carter's my favorite and fits with the way that I want to build. So I'm going to go with it. I think this guy's going to crush soon. I like him slightly better than Vooch because of the ownership and the fact that it allows me to build differently. Vooch is the best play, other than him, in my opinion. I actually think that, obviously, if you're playing cash, I think you play Vooch. But you could actually even argue that certain nat lineups, you could throw Carter in there. I really like Carter. I mean, it's interesting how the centers are overpriced over here tonight a little bit. And then I would go with Valanciunas would be my next guy, followed by Gobert and Turner. But I don't think I'm even going to play anybody else. And even those last three guys, I don't feel great about. I am sort of flirting with the idea, because I don't feel great about it, with the Whiteside play. And I also think that getting a low-owned Aaron Baines when he's going to be complete chalk is kind of an interesting, on the other side, it's kind of an interesting way to go. And probably is worth throwing into a lineup, just because he could get 30 and that might be good enough for anyone in that tier. And that's what you're sort of hoping for on DraftKings. But if he gets 30 we're going to be happy on Fanduel too, because it's just not that great a position. Like even the other guys we mentioned, like Turner, like what do we want, 36 out of them? You know what I mean? We're not asking for 10x from these guys. Maybe we can get it from Carter, but we just need 6x and to move on with our lineups in our lives, because it's just not appealing to me. So maybe that's why it all of a sudden does bring Whiteside a little bit more in play, even though I don't like it. So maybe I will throw Whiteside into 1 or 2, but the priority is definitely Wendell Carter and Vooch.
Let me ask you a question. 2 totally random guys. Who do you like more, Markelle Fultz or Tomas Satoransky?
Markelle Fultz or Satoransky? I think I like Fultz better. That's a good question. You're getting a lot less ownership, so it's interesting. But I do think I like, just to flat out, I like Fultz better. But Satoransky, that is kind of an interesting point. I see where you're going.
Who do you like better, Malik Beasley or Terrence Ross?
Beasley.
Okay.
But I still like Ross as a tournament play too. I mean, play them both, together if you want to. There's so many shooting guard, point guard combinations that sort of you can go back and forth with them. It's just like, it's kind of a mind F, you know what I mean? So I'm going to keep my other positions pretty tight. Like I'm looking at my ownership. It's going to be high on the 2 centers. Probably 80% of my lineups will have one of those 2 guys I mentioned, either Vooch or Carter. And then I'll be filtering the other ones in the other lineups. And then I'm going to have heavy ownership on my power forwards. I just love the going with Kristaps here, man. I just think these ownership, I don't care if he busts for me tonight and puts up 30. We cannot keep ignoring a guy who's unowned and just going nuts every single night, like every night.
It is kind of crazy, right?
It does seem crazy. And what's interesting is like, he can get you, he's such a great play on FanDuel because he has that, 5 to 8 block game coming out of nowhere with 3 steals. He can get you 30 fantasy points from the other things. That's how good, that's the kind of play. Remember, he had those games with the Knicks where you'd have those 9 blocks, you know what I mean? It was nuts. He's still that guy. And Memphis gets attacked. They get sloppy and they attack the basket. This is a great spot for Porzingis in like every way. And just no one playing him in the projected fantasy points and all that stuff. It just feels way, way, way off to me, unless there's something really weird that like I don't think there is, that I'm missing. And I honestly, here's one huge hint. Why is his projected minutes 33? Like, when is the last time he played 33 minutes in a close game? Like, I don't remember that San Antonio game. They won that. They won that one easy, I think. And then they blew up Minnesota. But he plays in all the close games. He's been 38, 37, 45. That was overtime, but that means 40 in regulation. Why would we not think that Kristaps is going to just completely win us this tournament, this slate again? He's got certainly, the upside. And you could argue, hey, Tatum's right there at the same price. How do you do that? So maybe you could try and find a way to play he and Tatum. Although I sort of lean more he and Sabonis. I just really think that he outscores Tatum plenty of times here. And it's not like people are playing that much Tatum either. I don't know. I'm falling in love with this play the more I think about it.
I feel as though, when we finished the DraftKings review, I said the main question is going to be whether you approach it as a stars and scrubs thing or kind of a middling build thing. And, the more I'm kind of fiddling around with just kind of these shell lineups here, yeah, I'm getting less comfortable with the stars and scrubs build on FanDuel. Yeah. Because I just put this together. These are all good plays that I kind of work through. Yeah. But this one is the one Beal and Giannis in it. And I just as you're just going through these plays that we've gone over, there's just so many like middling guys that I'm not able to get because I'm paying for the Beal and the Giannis, for example. That maybe on FanDuel the middling build is going to end up being the way to go.
It's an interesting point. I agree that there's a lot of middling players that certainly stand out as being exceptional plays. Like, I mean, from Fultz, the thing is, I really like Carter. Like, it's allowing me to do a lot of things that I mean, you're playing him here in this one, obviously, but I really like Carter. And as much as I like Bradley Beal, I think there's so many ways to go at shooting guard.
Yeah.
It's hard to know. Like, I wanted to say, but Bradley Beal, yeah, he can get me 70. I'll take a shot against Atlanta. But there's just so many ways you can go. And
well, I mean, for example, I'm just gonna throw guys out like so you instead of saying Beal and Smart for 16,100, I mean you could play Booker and Butler, for example, for like 16-2. you know?
Right.
And maybe that's better. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's interesting.
But I mean, you could go Levert and DeRozan, you know, for a little
Right.
less.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm just throwing them
So
out there.
potentially, yeah, what I was going to say though is a potential. So here's what I'm looking at. So your combination, if you get 100 from your combination, you're happy with it. But I will make a case that I can get you 100 with less money if you play. I mean, you have a chance at it with DeRozan and Levert, for example, or
Absolutely.
with Butler and Booker. And I think that the Butler Booker actually feels. I sort of like. And the other part is the Beasley thing is interesting. Like 5,300. I really like the price. Orlando has definitely not been playing the same. They're playing way faster. You could go Beasley, try to get 35 to 40 from him, and get 50 from Levert, or play Beasley with Herter and try and get 80 between the two of them. And that seems very possible for only 10 free. You know what I mean? There's a lot of good routes and a lot of ways you could correlate it with guys on the other side. The Beasley one, the obvious example would be Markelle Fultz would be the other side if you want to play him at point guard. And then with Herter, you could play Napier if you wanted to at point guard, or you could play Rui at power forward or something just to get some correlation, because that's what's going to end up deciding it. There's so many good plays that I think trying to correlate just makes a little more sense, and maybe trying to lean a little bit more towards one of these game stacks might make some sense. But again, I'm going to try and play LeBron and Giannis in at least one of my big lineups, because I think there's a path where that really does get it done. And I think that spending that money at small forward is so much better than spending that money at shooting guard.
Well, the good news is that if you do that, I mean, you're not dead for hours and hours and hours. I mean, you could just sit there, root for Trey to be out. You could, whatever.
Imagine you've got like 300 or like 270, and you've got whatever LeBron and Giannis still to go. I mean, maybe 300 you'd want to have, but that would be like that's a dream, man. You can get 150 from those guys.
That would be fun. That's just totally random, having nothing to do with anything. Because I was looking to see if I could, because this particular lineup I have Tatum and Smart in it. I just want to just check through the Utah guys, and I looked at Mitchell. Looked fine. I mean, I'm not going to play him probably. Joe Ingles is 3,900 on FanDuel. I mean, it's not the right slate or anything like that, but it's amazing what's happened to this guy.
Yeah, he's really been the odd man out because of the defensive issues they've had. But he is 3,900. I mean, I did just talk about – if I'm going to talk about James Ennis, I probably should have mentioned Joe Ingles. So fair enough.
All right. But probably the 3,900 guy that I'm going to end up playing is either Aaron Holiday or it's going to be Teague, right? Trey's going to be out. Trey's just going to be out.
I mean, usually the downgrades are, but Trey has somehow has had two of them so far where he ended up playing. So
he's had these same flu-like symptoms.
Why he always gets kind of sick in the morning? Like, what's the matter with him? He's drinking. That's what it is. He's out partying the night before.
Yeah, well, get him tested.
Get him tested. That's what I say too. Maybe they won't let him play. All right, Cheats. Guys, give us the like, the thumbs up. We really appreciate it. And follow me. I'll be doing a 4 Eastern show on QLTV with Matt Bellman, a good sports bettor, a good fantasy player. We're going to be doing a live show, so get your questions in there. And we look forward to talking to you shortly.
All right, sounds good.